slayer and a whole lot of slayers of other nasties in Van Helsing. It's out Thursday. Have a look.
You refuse to obey our laws?
The laws of men mean little to me.
Fine. Kill them.
I'm here to help you.
I don't need any help.
Really?
Oh, yes. Say hello to our old buddy, Hugh Jackman. How are you going?
Life is great. You know, I'm here in LA for a day, talking to you, and going to the premiere tonight of the movie, and then, which is my chance to see the movie, by the way, which will be good, and then back to New York to go and camp it up on stage. So life is kind of interesting.
Now, I'm hoping you're talking about The Boy from Oz.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah. That would be, yes, maracas and sequins, which is my other life these days.
Do you get nervous? Like, obviously, I'm sure you've seen snippets of the film, but seeing the premiere, the full finished masterpiece on the big screen for the first time with an audience, are you a little nervous going into it?
If I hadn't have seen it, I saw it 95% finished, and I loved it. So that was a huge relief. The relief is mainly, regardless of whether you like it or not, you have to get out there and hawk it to everybody, you know. So if you don't like it, it's kind of ulcer-inducing, you know, and you're reserving a place downstairs pretty fast. Love this film. You're going to love it, you know. But I loved it, thank God, and it's a great film. It is, and you know what? It is so much fun, this movie. And when I was watching it, I just had a blast watching it. So that's a big relief. So tonight, where there's 3,000 people at the Universal Amphitheatre, and they're also releasing the ride. They've got this ride at the Hollywood Studios. I mean, this is Universal Studios. This is a big moment for me. I'm a big ride guy. I love them. So tonight's just going to be fun.
Have you been on the ride? Do you get to test that at all?
I get to test that later tonight, so that'll be good.
Excellent.
It should be interesting after a few beers too.
So tell everybody a little bit about Van Helsing.
Well, Steve Summers, who directed The Mummy, and he's a great action director. He came up with this idea of bringing together Dracula, Frankenstein, and the werewolf, which are all properties of Universal Studios, and they did the original monster movies in the 1930s. So he thought, I'm going to bring them all together into this one movie, and as the protagonist, my character, Van Helsing, is also part of that folklore. He was the traditional enemy of Dracula, but in the book, in Bram Stoker's version, he was a much older professor. Hopkins played him in a recent version, and so we've made him like this younger, sort of more roguish adventurer type, and he goes out on this adventure to hunt down Dracula, and on his way he meets pretty much every other monster ever invented. But it is a really clever, he came up with a really clever story, a way to meld it all in together. I mean, it's not just a monster mash. It really is a really fun ride, but it's basically like an old-fashioned, you know, sort of Indiana Jones kind of adventure movie. And
because of that, there's a lot of stunt scenes that you yourself actually did. Were there any hair-raising moments there?
You know, we had this stunt coordinator called R.A. Rondell, who did The Matrix, and he's amazing, but he's the most ideal candidate for a cult leader. He'll come up to you and he'll be like, Hugh, what we're going to do, man, is you're going to go up to this cliff and you're just going to jump off. And if you survive the fall, what I want you to do is just run away at the end of it. And I'll be like, okay, man, let's go. I don't know, there's something very calming about him. So before I knew it, there's one sequence with me on a horse coach chase sequence, and I'm lying in between two horses. It's about take 4, and I'm dragged along this road by 6 horses, and I'm lying on nothing but this kind of small metal tray. It's about this big, right? And holding onto the bridles, and it kind of dawns on you all of a sudden that these horses actually don't speak English and can kind of do whatever they want to do. And then my feet are dragging in the ground, and they've laid in the road with wood chips, so it's very comfortable for the horses. Unfortunately, when you're behind 6 horses and you're only this far off the ground, it's like wood chips the whole time, in your head. And I'm trying to be all heroic and cool. It wasn't really working. But as I said, like about the end of the 4th take, I kind of thought, okay, this is enough, I think. And R.A. would come over and he'd be like, man, I have never seen an actor do anything like that. In 25 years, this is amazing. This is awesome. And I'll be like, what? Ignorance is bliss.
It certainly is. Now, also here, because your son Oscar was on set as well from time to time, just having a visit, it would have been a very exciting place for a young boy.
He loved it. I mean, he's the most spoiled kid, you know. I mean, my dad was an accountant, you know. It's an important job. You know, office day at Dad's was really, maybe the most important thing was the fax machine. That was kind of cool. But in our movie, there's little people, the helpers for Dracula. So they were exactly the same height as Oscar. So they would, at lunchtime, the stunt guys would take their harnesses, because these guys are being flung and flown all over the place, and on fire, you name it. So they would get the harnesses and attach them to Oscar. And we had this one location where it was just this basically, it was like the Luna Park, you know. He was just getting thrown around and flown around like 50 miles an hour. And there's Oscar's like, whee, you know. This is cool. Daddy's office is kind of cool. So, yeah, he's a spoiled boy.
Now, what I liked about the film was Van Helsing's outfit. It was very cool, but for the most of the film, you're wearing a hat. Now, I found that very odd because you've got a problem with your head size, don't you?
Thanks for bringing it up, mate. Yeah, P-head. P-head was my name at school, and one of many, of course, affectionate terms I got. And for some reason, my head may not appear to you now, but as I stand at my full height, my head should be on a 5-foot man. So now I said to the costume lady, I said, you know, I'm not very good with hats. This costume woman, Gabriella, has won 2 Academy Awards. She's amazing, right? And she was like, Ugo, I didn't do anything. It's relaxed. It's okay. I'll find you a hat, no problem. So 40 hats later, she was like tearing her hair out. She didn't speak, at this point there was no English. It was just all Italian swear words, I'm sure of it. So we end up having 3 hats. If you watch very carefully, in the long shot I have 1 hat, which makes me look in proportion. But if you see that hat in close-up, it's like I'm wearing my dad's hat. You know, it's kind of like this big, so I have a small, you know. But I loved the coat. The moment I put that coat on, I said, this is kind of like a dryzer bone. And she's like, scusa. So what? You know, I said, yeah, you've just nicked the dryzer bone, you know, and just added a few buckles, you know.
And of course, you're finishing up soon with The Boy from Oz. Are you going to be headed home anytime? I hear around September you'll be coming back home to Oz?
I'll be hopefully home at the G for the grand final. That's my plan.
Oh, very nice.
I'm very excited about being back. Deb's doing a film with Ray Lawrence, who did Lantana, so I'm going to be Mr. Mum for a little while, which is great. So it's been a long time being away. Even though I've been singing, I still call Australia home every night. I'm kind of like, all right, enough about singing about it. Let's get home, you know.
Excellent. Well, it'd be great to have you back on our shores. The movie Van Helsing is out Thursday. Please thank its star, Hugh Jackman.
Thanks, man. Good to talk to you.
We'll be back with Nickelback and our liveless resolution.